nightly series that has to do with just dealing with life's problems in a very spiritual way, and of course always focusing on meditation and the things that we have learned over the years. Some of us have been learning for many years, while others are quite new at this and but are making so much progress that they're moving faster than the people that maybe have been practicing for a long time. And tonight's topic is living or making the most of living with uncertainty. Last week and the last few weeks I was talking about worrying and stress and topics like that, and then I was thinking to myself, but what's at the root of all of this? And it really does have to do with uncertainty. You know, that feeling that what's going to happen? What's going to happen to me? Am I going to get sick? Am I going to have my job? Is there going to be food? And, you know, a lot, of course, has to do with the fact that we're bombarded with, you know, all of these thoughts and words, whether we're reading the papers or watching it online or whatever, and with, of course, well-meaning people and even people in the media that are trying to help us, and they certainly are. I can't imagine what life would be like without people that were you know, giving us this kind of news and giving us information that we need. And that's okay. That's important. We need the news. But, and that's the big but, we don't want to absorb what's coming at us, because as the more that we absorb and the more that we begin to actually feel it in our bones and inside of us, what happens? You know that. We start to get fearful, we start to get uneasy, and I was thinking that a lot has to do with this emotional uneasiness that we're all having, because it's all about not knowing what's going to happen and when is it going to change and will it change? One of the laws, really, of, you know, I guess we could call them the universal laws, is that everything changes. Nothing stays the same. And so, to me, when I thought about that, I thought, you know, even when things are good, and when things are good, they change, and when things are bad, they too will change. And so to have the faith inside that everything somehow is going to change and going to come around at some point. Patience is, of course, really important when it comes to, you know, what we're all going through today. We need to be patient and not get too caught up in the, you know, again, the fearfulness and the difficulties of life. And again, I feel, stop asking questions. I'm telling myself that too. I'm not just telling you. I think when I keep asking questions, I end up with more questions, and I just forget to really chill and to really relax. And okay, you're probably thinking, well, maybe that's easy for you to say. Maybe your life isn't as difficult. For a lot of you out there, life is truly difficult. And I will say, over the last few months, I've had some very, very challenging, difficult times, and I've learned from those times. And I feel that I've learned a lot spiritually and practically, that asking questions and constantly feeling what's going to happen and being afraid of the future does not do me any good. And I know that what it does is it actually just brings a feeling of more emotional dysfunction, really, and where my emotions get so caught up. And I remember one time when I got some really bad news about my husband, I remember my whole body started to shake, you know. It was like, and I had to just let it go, and that happens at times. And I was reading something very interesting, that animals, when they go through some kind of trauma, their bodies start to shake, and they shake, and it's actually a way to get them to get back to where they are. It's actually a protection. So I'm thinking that even if our bodies go through some kind of physical turmoil or feeling really kind of like we feel shaky, then it perhaps isn't really a bad thing. Though we don't want to stick to that. We don't want to stay, you know, with that theme of shaking or being so upset. So how do we get out of this, even though there is uncertainty? You know, I mean, there really always has been uncertainty. Now it's kind of on hyper uncertainty, but life has always been about uncertainty. I mean, we know there have been illnesses, there have been sicknesses, there have been wars. I mean, there's been, you know, times when people don't have food and they don't have money, and somehow society keeps moving forward. Somehow it does. And maybe, we've never all as a world gone through this all together, which is an interesting thing, that we're all going through this together. And I think that's kind of a spiritual thing that we need to begin to take a look at. And why is it that we're all connected at this point? And maybe that's the message, that we truly are connected. And we're connected, and so we shouldn't feel alone. A lot of people are saying that they're feeling alone, especially if they are alone, living alone. And we aren't alone. I mean, we're out there with everybody else, and we're all feeling, this emotional dysfunction and this feeling of lack of well-being. So what's the answer? The answer, as you know, through the Brahma Kumaris and meditation, is to start with the self, to start with yourself, and begin to calm yourself down, give yourself quiet time, really, really be still. And to me, this is like the medicine for my life, for just about everything. And of course, also knowledge, spiritual knowledge, but it is medicine that works. I know it works because I've been doing this for many, many years, and I know that when I'm in any kind of turmoil or something's really difficult in my life and challenging, and uncertainty is usually because we of our fears. We don't know what's going to happen, and we feel lost. We feel that if this doesn't happen the way we want it to happen, then we're going to be lost, or there's going to be loss in our life, and nobody wants to feel loss, a sense of loss, whether it's with illness or financial or food or anything, or a relationship. Nobody wants, to really feel loss. And yet, if you really dig down deep, there truly isn't real loss. Because, as I was saying earlier, everything is changing. Everything keeps moving. It seems bad for a while, and then it gets good, and then it gets bad, or, there might be years when you look back on your life and, well, everything was good for so many years. Well, was it really? Was it? I mean, I hope for you it was, but I'm sure you had some challenge, some point in your life, right? Look at your life in the last few years, where something was just really scary, and you didn't know for the future whether it had to do, again, as I'm saying, with a number of different things. And so again, is to be able to really resonate with this idea that everything does change. But the secret, if we want this to work in an easier way and not struggle, because I don't really like to struggle. I never have, I've never liked to dwell on things for a long time and feel sadness. Since I've personally been a child, I've never felt good feeling sad, and yet I realize it's part of life as well. And then when I came to the Brahma Kumaris and learned meditation and this whole spiritual practice, what I learned was from them, you don't have to be sad. I mean, you might be sad sometimes, but don't absorb sadness, and don't believe that has to be a way of life, even if you've suffered, or even if you've been through something horrendous and you're going through something. Just begin to really resonate with and just take this idea of no matter what's happening, you can feel good and you can feel happy. It doesn't work at once. It doesn't. It takes time. It doesn't work in 1 second. But I promise you, I guarantee that the more that you begin to work with your inner self, and starting with quieting the mind, something that I couldn't do for a long time, and there's still lots of times in my life when I can't do it, where I just sit there, and yet even if I just sit there for a little while. So why don't we do that? We don't like to do any programs without giving ourselves a chance to quiet ourselves. And so let me now just get away from all of those thoughts that keep coming into my mind, and I feel as if I have no control sometimes over those thoughts. It's as if those thoughts control me, and I just can't seem to even have any part of what's going on in my head because those thoughts are just coming at me. So let me now just sit in quiet and focus on my inner spirit, remembering that that's who I really am. I am spirit. I am a spiritual being, and that's actually located within the center of the forehead inside. And all I have to do is right now just be quiet, get very still, maybe even breathe a couple of times. Just breathe in, hold it, breathe out, and release. Just release. Breathe in, hold it, breathe out, and release. Let me just feel what it's like to get back to who I truly am. Let me even think back to those wonderful times that I'm sure that I had in my life, that I know I had at some point, to myself as a carefree human being, as just a carefree soul, just enjoying every moment of life. As a child, whether I was enjoying a flower or seeing an animal run by or whatever it was, being with my family and having a wonderful dinner with my family, something in my life gave me a feeling of peace, a feeling of just total well-being. So let me focus on that. Let me remember whatever that time was, a time in my life when everything was good. It might have been fleeting for me. Maybe it didn't last. Something happened. I had to move. Somebody died. Something happened. But yet, I can remember that moment in time, that beautiful moment when everything was good. Let me focus on that as I sit here very quietly. Let me release myself from any noise in my head, noise that's coming at me from all of my thoughts that they're not really productive thoughts. As I sit here and I start to realize it, they're not productive. A lot of my thoughts, they're actually sometimes very destructive. So let me just look at those thoughts, observe myself right now, and see what kind of thoughts am I having? Am I having a thought that everything is good, that I am peace, that I am fine, that life is fine? Or am I having a thought that things are bad? What's going to happen in my life? What's going to happen with my job or my family? So let's just release ourselves right now. Be aware of your thought and just release yourself. Let me release myself from any worrisome thought, any thought that might be bringing me down, that's taking me away from a feeling of bliss. I actually can release myself, release in peace. Let me see myself as a beautiful, peaceful being, a being of light, a being of love, getting back to my original nature, a being of light and love, actually being able to spread this in whatever I'm doing, wherever I am, just to spread a feeling of peace. I don't need to buy into what's going on anymore, buying into worries, anxiety. There's enough of that in the world now. Let me bring something new to the world, something new which is positive and empowering. Maybe I can help just one person today with a positive thought, a feeling that everything is going to be okay. We're all going through this together as a planet, but we will survive and we will thrive in time. So let me now give up all worries, give up all fears. If there's a fear right now, let me focus on it. Let me just see that fear. What is it? What am I truly afraid of? Am I afraid of myself, that I just can't handle this? Am I afraid of someone else? Am I afraid of what's happening around me? Whatever it is, all I have to do is just release it. Let it go. I have no need for these types of thoughts and these types of feelings. if I want to move forward and just move forward in a way that's productive, where I can even learn and I can grow from whatever I'm going through right now. So let me just feel peace. Feel a feeling of love, not just for one person in my life or two people, for my friends or my family, but just let me spread a feeling of love to everybody. I can actually see myself having an effect on the world, affecting all who know me and even those who don't know me. So all I have to do is just feel good, experience myself as true spirit, a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful spirit, a spiritual being. Let me be part of helping to change the world, or at least let me help change my community and change whatever is going on around me. And I really can do this. It's not so difficult. What's more difficult is the suffering and the pain. That is truly difficult. Om Shanti. So getting back to the fact that I really can change things. You know, all it takes is, first of all, it takes the desire. Do I want to be affected by everything, by all the suffering and the fear and everything, or difficulties by my own thoughts? Or do I really want to just be a being of light and a being of love and help others? I mean, I don't need to suffer in life. And this is, to me, this is actually was a big lesson when I came to the Brahma Kumaris, because I used to suffer, you know, not terrible suffering, but I remember when I came in, I said, well, people hurt me, you know? People hurt me. So I was blaming those people for my suffering. I did that a lot, you know? And when I learned through these classes that we're not here to suffer, and I am taking the suffering, I don't have to take that suffering or that pain or whatever anyone does to me, whatever. Everything started to change in my life. Things just started to work out. And that, to me, is the beauty of this practice and the beauty of this philosophy, that things work out. And the more that we make this our mantra, things work out, things will work out. You'd be amazed at how quickly things work out, you know? I don't know if I've told this story, but bear with me if I have. I remember we had a big program with the media at a big event some years ago, and there was a photographer who shared the story that a journalist at he was actually at the Miami Herald at the time, that nothing went well in his life. He didn't get a promotion. He was hoping to have a relationship, and he realized, or I think someone told him, but you always look sad, and you're always, when people greet you, you always go, oh, another day. Oh, I hope I can get through this day. You were always quite kind of depressed. And when he realized it, he didn't realize what he was saying to people. And when he became aware of it and he changed it, he started to say to people when they saw him, how are you? And he'd go, I'm great, everything is good, with enthusiasm and feeling good. Guess what happened? Within a few months, he told us this, he got a promotion. And within a few months, even within those few months, he ended up with a very good relationship in his life, and life started to change. So if you're feeling kind of down and you're feeling, again, uncertain, then try that. You know, just try and see what happens. I know it works. I know it does, because good thoughts, good actions bring good things to our lives, brings enthusiasm. It brings a feeling of everything is going to be good, and a feeling of, you know what else it brings? To me, it's a feeling of possibility, that something good is possible, that it is possible for things to change. And even if it doesn't change right away, I mean, imagine how you feel. You just feel different, you know? You just feel different about your life, and life becomes good. And again, I think the most important thing that happens too is that we're learning from what we're going through right now. We're all in this together, And there are lessons for every one of us. So think about it. What lessons have you learned over the last few weeks or months? How have you changed? Just think about yourself and see yourself as evolving, as changing, and that instead of this being the worst of times, at some level, this could be some really good times for you for all of us, in terms of our evolution, in terms of our spiritual growth. And so I say goodbye to you, and I hope that you'll be watching every single night, weeknights, every night at 6:30. We have another teacher, another class, and all our teachers have something different to offer, something unique, something from their own experiences, and they're all, the ones that I know at the center are quite special, and they're here to give, and we all do want to give what we're learning, give of ourselves in terms of what we've learned, and we want to share. So nice to have you. Thank you so much, and Om Shanti. Om Shanti.